Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister and her fiancé stay with me after they insulted my girlfriend? Hey Reddit. My sister, Emma, and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, we were close, but as we got older, things changed. She became more judgmental, more entitled, and honestly, just a difficult person to be around. Despite that, I always tried to be a good brother. I supported her through her breakups, helped her move when she needed it, and even lent her money when she was struggling. But things hit a breaking point recently, and I don't know if I can ever go back from this. For context, I have been dating my girlfriend, Sarah, for about 2 years now. She's one of the most amazing people I've ever met. She's kind, supportive, and genuinely makes me a better person. We recently moved in together, and it's been the best decision of my life. However, my sister has never really liked her. From the moment they met, Emma made it clear that she didn't approve. She would make passive-aggressive comments about Sarah's job, her appearance, and even the way she spoke. I brushed it off for a long time, thinking that Emma would come around eventually, but she never did. Then came the incident that changed everything. Emma and her fiancé, Jake, were supposed to get married in a few months, but they recently ran into some financial issues. They had been living in an apartment, but due to some poor financial decisions on their part, they could no longer afford the rent. They reached out to me, asking if they could stay at my place for a couple of months while they got back on their feet. Now, under normal circumstances, I wouldn't have hesitated. Family is family, and I would never want to see my sister struggle. However, given her history with Sarah, I was hesitant. Before giving them an answer, I sat down with Sarah to discuss it. After all, it's her home too. Sarah, being the wonderful person she is, said that while she wasn't thrilled about it, she wouldn't stop me from helping my sister. The only thing she asked was that Emma and Jake show her respect. That was the bare minimum. I agreed and called my sister, letting her know that they could stay with us, but I made it very clear that they needed to be respectful toward Sarah. She agreed, and I thought everything would be fine. I was dead wrong. The first night they arrived, things were already tense. Emma barely acknowledged Sarah, and when she did, it was in the most condescending way possible. She made snide remarks about our apartment, about the way Sarah decorated, and even made a joke about how she couldn't believe I was still with someone like her. Sarah, being the bigger person, ignored it. I, however, was starting to get really pissed. But then things escalated. The next morning, Sarah made breakfast for everyone. She went out of her way to make something nice, even though she had no obligation to. When she set the plates down, Emma looked at the food and scoffed. She then turned to Jake and said, "Wow, I didn't know we'd be eating peasant food here." Jake chuckled, not even bothering to hide his amusement. Sarah looked completely crushed. I saw the hurt in her eyes, and that was it for me. I slammed my fork down and said, "If you don't like it, you can leave." Emma rolled her eyes and said I was overreacting. She claimed it was just a joke and that Sarah was being too sensitive. I wasn't having any of it. I told her that she had been disrespecting Sarah from the moment she walked through our door and that I wasn't going to tolerate it. Jake then chimed in, saying that I was choosing my girlfriend over my own sister. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Damn right, I am." I told them to pack their stuff and get out. Emma was furious. She started yelling, saying that I was abandoning her in her time of need, that I was being petty over a couple of jokes, and that I was a terrible brother. Jake backed her up, calling me whipped and saying that I was letting a woman control me. That was the last straw. I told them both that I didn't care what they thought. They disrespected Sarah in our home, and that was unacceptable. If they needed a place to stay, they could go find somewhere else. Emma stormed off, grabbed her bags, and left with Jake. Since then, she has been blasting me to our family, telling everyone that I threw her out over nothing. She conveniently leaves out the part where she insulted Sarah to her face. Now, my parents are involved, and they are pressuring me to apologize. They think I overreacted and that I should have just let it go. They say that family should come first, no matter what. But I don't see it that way. Sarah is my family too, and I refuse to let anyone treat her like that. I feel bad that my sister is struggling, but at the same time, I don't think that gives her a free pass to be cruel. I tried to set a boundary, and she completely disregarded it. Now, my phone is blowing up with messages from my parents, some other relatives, and even mutual friends who are taking sides. Some say I did the right thing, while others think I should have been more forgiving. Meanwhile, Emma has been posting cryptic messages on social media about how some people turn their backs on family over a relationship. Honestly, I'm at a loss. I keep replaying the situation in my head, wondering if I really did overreact. Was I too harsh? Should I have just ignored their comments and let them stay? Or was I justified in standing my ground? I need to know. Am I the a-hole? Update. After posting my story, I didn't expect the sheer amount of responses I received. Some people agreed with me, saying that I was right to stand up for Sarah and not let my sister and her fiancé walk all over us. Others thought I should have handled it differently, maybe given them a warning before kicking them out. Either way, the support for Sarah really reassured me that I wasn't crazy for feeling the way I did. But things have only escalated since then. The day after Emma and Jake left, I thought I would get some peace, but instead, my phone blew up with messages from family members telling me that I was heartless for throwing my sister out when she had nowhere else to go. My mother, in particular, was furious. She called me, demanding to know why I would abandon my own sister over a small misunderstanding. I tried to explain that it wasn't just one incident, but a pattern of disrespect that had been going on for years. She wouldn't hear any of it. Instead, she kept repeating that family comes first, and that I was being manipulated by Sarah. That part hit a nerve. It wasn't the first time I had heard my family try to undermine my relationship. Since the beginning, they had treated Sarah like an outsider, someone temporary. I realized that no matter how much Sarah and I built a life together, they would never respect her the way I did. That only made me double down on my decision. I told my mother that I wasn't going to tolerate Emma's behavior and that if she wanted to support her, that was her choice, but I wasn't going to allow that negativity in my home. She ended the call by saying she was disappointed in me. Then, a few days later, Emma made a post on social media that sent the situation into overdrive. She wrote this long, dramatic post about how some people forget where they came from and that blood should always come before a relationship. She never mentioned my name, but everyone knew it was about me. The comments were flooded with messages from family members supporting her, saying things like "you'll always have a place with us" and "some people just don't understand loyalty." What really pissed me off, though, was when Jake commented, saying, "Glad we got out of that toxic environment. Some people let their partners turn them into spineless cowards." That one stung. Sarah saw it too, and I could tell it was getting to her. She never wanted to come between me and my family, and seeing them turn against me like this made her feel guilty. That broke my heart. I reassured her that I didn't regret anything and that this wasn't her fault. If anything, it was the wake-up call I needed to see how my family really viewed me. A week went by with no contact from Emma, but then she texted me out of nowhere. She said that she and Jake were struggling and that she really needed my help. She asked if they could just stay for a little while, and promised that they would be more respectful this time. She didn't apologize for anything, didn't acknowledge what she had done, just expected me to welcome them back like nothing had happened. I thought about it for a long time. Then I responded with a simple no. She immediately blew up, calling me every name in the book, saying that I was letting Sarah control me and that she hoped I enjoyed losing my family over a random girl. She told me that when Sarah left me, I would have no one, and that I would regret ever turning my back on her. That was the last straw. I blocked her number and decided that I was done. But things weren't over yet. Another update. Blocking Emma didn't stop the drama. If anything, it made her even more desperate. A few days after I blocked her, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. When I opened the door, they didn't even say hello. My mother just immediately started crying, saying that I was being cruel to my own sister and that I was turning into a stranger. My father, usually the quieter one, said that he didn't raise me to abandon family like this. I let them in, mostly because I didn't want to have this argument in the hallway, but I immediately regretted it. For the next hour, they laid into me about how I was being unfair, how I should just let it go and be the bigger person. My mother kept bringing up childhood memories, trying to guilt-trip me, while my father kept saying that this wasn't how family was supposed to act. I listened to all of it, letting them say their piece, but when they finally stopped, I just shook my head and told them that I wasn't changing my mind. I told them that this wasn't about Sarah controlling me or me being stubborn. This was about respect. Emma had spent years treating Sarah like she was beneath her, and the moment I set a boundary, she acted like I had betrayed her. If Emma had come to me with a real apology, if she had shown any sign of remorse, maybe things would be different. But she didn't. She just expected me to forget everything and play the role of the good brother again. My mother called me selfish. I told her that if standing up for Sarah made me selfish, then so be it. That was when they left. My mother was in tears, and my father just shook his head, like he couldn't believe what I had become. Before they walked out the door, my mother said, "I hope you never find yourself in a position where you need family, because when you do, don't expect us to be there." That hurt. But I still didn't regret my decision. Final update. It's been a month since everything went down, and honestly, I've never felt more at peace. I won't lie, it was hard at first. Cutting off my sister and dealing with the fallout from my family wasn't easy. For a while, I felt like maybe I'd made a mistake, maybe I had overreacted. But then I looked at Sarah, at how much happier and more relaxed she was now that Emma wasn't around, and I knew I had done the right thing. Emma and Jake ended up moving in with one of her friends, and from what I've heard, things aren't going well. Apparently, they're having constant fights with their friend over money and responsibilities. Part of me feels bad for her, but then I remember how she treated Sarah, and I remind myself that this is the result of her own actions. As for my parents, we're still not on great terms. They haven't cut me off completely, but things are distant. I know they're hoping I'll come to my senses and make things right with Emma, but that's not going to happen. I love my family, but I refuse to let them dictate how I live my life. Sarah and I, on the other hand, are doing better than ever. If anything, this whole situation made me appreciate her even more. She never asked me to choose between her and my family, but in the end, I realized that the choice was clear. Respect isn't optional. And if my family can't see that, then that's on them. I don't know what the future holds, but for now, I'm happy. And for the first time in a long time, I feel truly free.